Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. To this day.
Nino Brown Boxing, and I'm back in the building. Shout out to the LDBC. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. I've been gone for a while. I'm quarantined. I'm bored as shit. So let's talk a little bit of boxing. All right, man. So everyone knows there's been a lot of talk circulating around this whole Terence Crawford versus Kell Brook fight. It seems like Terence Crawford is interested. It seems like Kell Brook is interested. And it definitely seems like Bob Arum is saying the right things. I've been hearing when it comes to location that it seems like this fight is leaning towards taking place in the UK. Now, we all know what's going on in the world right now. So any type of anticipation of this fight happening anytime soon is slim to none. But that's not just Terence Crawford versus Kell Brook. That's all of boxing right now. All of sports anyway. Now, when it comes to this fight, it's just certain things, I see floating around. People say, well, will Terence Crawford get credit for this fight? And I believe anyone that's looking at this logically, even if you put some emotion into it, it's only common sense to give Terence Crawford credit for taking this fight and for winning this fight. I don't care what's the fashion that Terence Crawford win this fight. If it's a W on the record, he could win the fight by 1 point. It could be a close fight. If Terence Crawford gets the victory, he gets the victory and he gets full credit from me. Now, this is why. One, it's a good fight. And I feel like a lot of people like to compare Terence Crawford with the other guys at welterweight, which I feel is not a fair comparison. The only welterweight I feel like it's a fair comparison with is Manny Pacquiao. And some people may say, well, Nino Brown Boxing, what do you mean? And matter of fact, let me be more specific. When people compare Sean Porter, Errol Spence, and Keith Thurman to Terence Crawford, I feel like it's not fair. These guys are career welterweights and above. So higher weight classes than 147. When a guy like Terence Crawford, he started his career at 135. He's been a champion at 135, 140, and now 147. So with me, I have to factor in that Terence Crawford is now on his third weight class. And you got guys like Sean Porter, this fought at as high as 168. Errol Spence, he fought at super welterweight. And so as Keith Thurman has fought at super welterweight as well earlier in their careers. They started going in reverse. When a guy like Terence Crawford, he started moving up in weight classes. And a big thing is when you take a guy like Kell Brook into consideration, Kell Brook, we all know he went up to middleweight and he fought Triple G. But Kell Brook back in 2004 was fighting at middleweight and at super welterweight. This is 4 years removed from Terence Crawford making his pro debut. So to me, that says Kell Brook has a lot of professional experience, more professional experience than Terence Crawford, and I understand it was lower competition earlier in Kell Brook's career, but at the same time, I like to factor in. People always want to talk about how weight classes matter. I agree with that 100%, and that's something I have to take into consideration. Now, the big thing about this, and to me this matters even more than the weight classes when it comes to Terence Crawford getting credit for this fight, is Kell Brook beat Sean Porter. I know the narrative a couple of months back and even definitely today, a lot of people wanted to see the Terence Crawford versus Sean Porter fight, especially after the Errol Spence Sean Porter fight took place, and rightfully so. I understand that would be a fight that I wanted to see as well. But if you line Terence Crawford up and you have two opponents across from Terence Crawford and you say one is Kell Brook, one is Sean Porter, and both of these guys lost to Errol Spence, but these guys also faced one another, and one guy gave another guy his first L and he took his belt. And then the guy that lost his belt never got any get back. Errol Spence had to go do the dirty work for him. I want to see Terence Crawford versus Kell Brook. It's simple as that. I mean, Shawn Porter already lost to Earl. He already lost to Kell. And he already lost to Keith. When it comes to welterweight, the only guy Kell Brook has taken an L to has been Errol Spence Jr. So if I'm not going to get the Terence Crawford fight with Errol Spence, the unification bout, then to me, the only other fight that makes sense, assuming that Errol Spence is he's busy with Manny Pacquiao and Danny Garcia, the only other fight that makes sense is Kell Brook. Now, if Shawn Porter would have went back and he would have got his get back on Kell Brook, then I would be saying something completely different. I'm talking about a Shawn Porter that would have avenged his loss against Kell Brook. Then the only opponent that would make sense under these current circumstances would be Shawn Porter, but that's not the case. So, with that being said, I really like this fight. The chances of this fight happening this year, I have no idea. Slim to none, possibly maybe later on this year. But like I said, that goes for all of boxing and all the sports. But the question still remains, does Terence Crawford get credit for beating Kell Brook? Absolutely. To me, it boosts his resume just as much that it boosts Errol Spence's resume. And some people may not agree with that. But I say that specifically because even though Errol Spence was Kell Brook's second loss, you're talking about a guy in a weight class, a career-long welterweight, versus a guy that started his career off at 135. And if we're going to speak on that weight classes matter, then factoring in that weight classes matter when we discuss how big of a victory it is for Terence Crawford, then the weight class difference of when the career started, just the 135 to the 160, it's a big deal to me. So, yeah, I give full credit, and I feel like at this point in time in Kell Brook's career, is he more damaged goods than he was when he fought Errol Spence? Yes, I agree with that 100%. Do I feel like Kell Brook is so far removed from his best days that Terence Crawford shouldn't get credit, considering the fact that he came from 135? No, I feel like that same amount of credit Errol Spence got is the same amount of credit that Terence Crawford should get, especially if Terence Crawford goes over to the UK and get the job done. It would be even better. But that's just my take on the whole situation. Hopefully, when boxing decides to bounce back with all of this coronavirus situation, maybe these promoters finally get their shit together and they realize that the sport needs to bounce back, and to get the fans' attention is giving us fans the big fights we want to see. But we'll see how everything plays out. It's Nino Brown Boxing. Shout out to the LDBC, and I'm out.